All right, hey guys, today I'm going to do a mini lesson over misplaced and dangling modifiers. I know this is something that you've seen in your homework several times, but I feel the need to go ahead and go over this now so that you understand what it is and how to actually locate misplaced or dangling modifiers in a sentence. So when we're talking about misplaced and dangling modifiers, it's important that you understand what a modifier is. So essentially, a modifier describes some other words in a sentence. And that's all a modifier does. It describes some other word in a sentence. And we're going to look at the two types, like I said before, misplaced and dangling. And we're going to go over standards that are covered within this because as you begin to write, it is important that your sentences are written correctly, that they are clear, coherent, and cohesive to whatever it is that you're assigned to write. So again, we're going to talk about misplaced and dangling modifiers. The standards that are covered in this is these are just your Common Core standards where you have to be able to identify phrases and clauses. And in that within a sentence, and you have to be able to recognize and correct misplaced and dangling modifiers. You will see this information again, so it is important that you understand it. You can identify them when seen in a sentence and to make the necessary corrections. The essential question that we're going to cover is, can you recognize and correct misplaced and dangling modifiers? So by the time we get done, you guys should be able to find them or locate them in a sentence and correct them when necessary. So again, we just talked about what a modifier is. A modifier describes some other words in a sentence, and they give you an example below. And there are several different modifiers within the sentence. The sentence is Amy's favorite red purse, the one she always carried, was stolen last week. Amy's favorite red describes the purse, so that would be a modifier. Always describes the verb carries. Last describes week. And the only one she carried is a descriptive phrase, and it describes the purse. So again, there are 4 modifiers within that sentence. So it's important that you be able to identify them in a sentence and tell if it is a modifier, whether it's dangling or misplaced. And we're going to get into that later. So again, modifiers, word phrases, the clauses that provide description in a sentence. So this is just a more explicit definition. So again, modifiers describes words, phrases, or clauses that provide description in sentences. But what is a clause? I know we haven't specifically talked about that, but you need to know what a clause is. A clause is a group of subject, predicate, construction. So you have, and it doesn't have to make a complete sentence, but it's just a group of words that have a subject and a predicate. So in the example, my dog Fido, who loves pizza crust, eats under the kitchen table. So the clause in that particular sentence is who loves pizza crust, because it is describing the dog, what the dog loves, what he likes. So that is a clause. So we're going to talk about what is the difference between dangling modifiers and misplaced modifiers. It is important that you know that. Dangling modifiers do not have a clear term to modify in a sentence. They are phrases or clauses that do not logically modify any word in the sentence in which it appears. Although most commonly found at the beginning of the sentence, the dangling modifier may be located at the end of the sentence too. So dangling modifiers will be located either at the beginning or the end, either one. And they give you some examples. Said, climbing the mountain, my backpack fell to the ground. So your modifier would be climbing the mountain, and it modifies the I. So what it is, that noun, I. The problem is that it sounds like the backpack was the thing climbing the mountain instead of it being the person that climbed the mountain. So that is why it is a dangling modifier, because it does not logically modify the word in the sentence that it's related to. It should be I climbed, or it should be modifying I instead of the incorrect verb or noun, I'm sorry. There are 2 ways that you could correct a dangling modifier. You can either supply the noun or pronoun that it should modify and place the modifier next to the word, or 2, you can change the dangling construction into a complete clause. So 1 or 2 ways. Supply the noun and pronoun that it should modify and place the modifier next to the word. So change the construction of the sentence, or change the construction so that it now turns into a complete clause. One or two ways. And dangling clauses usually take one of four forms. You can either have a dangling participle phrase, where you have that ing verb form. You can have dangling gerunds, which have the ing verb form used as a noun. Dangling infinitives, you have that to plus a root verb. And dangling elliptical clauses is a clause in which the subject or verb is understood. Now, as opposed to dangling modifiers, misplaced modifiers do not clearly associate with the word or phrase they modify. So in the example, he gave his sister the stuffed bear with a polka dot dress. So your modifier is with a polka dot dress. What it modifies is sister. So the problem that comes with this particular sentence is it sounds as if the bear has a polka dot dress. So the way that you would correct that so that it sounds like his sister had the polka dot dress instead of the bear, you change the order of the sentence. He gave the stuffed bear to his sister with a polka dot dress. That makes that sentence now logical and clear and cohesive. So they give you a sentence. The boy ate a pizza. That is your sentence. You have three modifiers. Who was a mohawk? Who has a mohawk? Loaded with cheese and sausage. Whimpering for a dog bone. Those are your three modifiers. Where do you think they would go? And our example is going to give you different choices. And you have to pick which sentence this is modified correctly. So A, the boy loaded with cheese and sausage ate a pizza. Is that correct? B, the boy ate a pizza who has a mohawk. Is that sentence correct? C, whimpering for a dog bone, the boy ate a pizza. Or D, the boy who has a mohawk ate a pizza loaded with cheese and sausage. Which one do you think is correct? So let's look at the answer choices. You have A, has a misplaced modifier. B, has a misplaced modifier. C, has a dangling modifier. And D would be your correct choice. Just a little more information about misplaced modifiers is because word order is often important in the meaning of a sentence. A modifier, be it a phrase or word, should be placed as close to as possible to the word it modifies. Many modifiers can be moved to various positions in the sentence, but if ambiguity results, the word order must be corrected. Misplaced modifiers take one of four forms. You can have a misplaced adverb, a misplaced phrase and clause, squinting modifiers. That's when you have a word or phrase placed in a position so that it modifies either a preceding word or the word after it, and then a split infinitive. This is where a modifier of one or more words is placed between the two and the root verb. So that's just a little more information to help you understand how misplaced modifiers can actually be intertwined in a sentence. All right, so driving up in a police car, the lost child was found. So we want to know what the modifier is, what did the writer intend to say, and what did the writer incorrectly say. So we're looking for three things. So what is the modifier? Driving up in the police car is your modifier. What did the writer intend to say? The driver intended to say that driving up in a police car, the officer lost the child. What did the writer incorrectly say? The lost child was driving up in a police car. So let's go to the next one. The thief was arrested after the house was robbed by the police chief. So what is the modifier? The modifier is was robbed by the police chief. What did the writer intend to say? So again, what was the intention? So the intention was that the house was robbed by the thief. Instead, what the writer incorrectly said was that the house was robbed by the police chief. It is important that you be able to differentiate between your dangling and misplaced modifiers. Again, just as a quick recap, our Misplaced modifier is when the modifier does not clearly associate with the word or phrase they modify. And our dangling modifier is when a modifier does not have a clear term to modify in a sentence. It is important that you be able to, again, differentiate between these two types of modifiers, as you will see this information again. And as you are constructing your written responses, I'm going to be looking to make sure that your sentences are coherent and they are logical and they make sense. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll be more than happy to give you another brief tutorial over dangling and misplaced modifiers.